All right, everybody, welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. The miserable post-game experience after that disgusting debacle of a game just occurred. 14-7 Giants. The Commanders shot themselves in the foot every possible way that you could, and still almost won because the Giants are that bad, or almost, came through at the end anyway, because the Giants are just terrible, slightly less terrible than the Commanders are. So let's get into it, guys. I guess I'll start with Brian. Was there any other possible outcome? Did you see this? Did this unfold the way that you thought it would, or did you hope to see something a little bit better?
Um, Absolutely hope to see something better. Did it unfold like how it, you know, worst case scenario? Yeah, like this is our MO, same game plans that we always use. Um, the coaching staff is hard headed and they don't learn and they don't adjust and they don't care to. Offensively, let's start there. Eric Bieniemy came in with the same game plan, sack, pressure up the middle. One of the stats I saw from Nikki Javala from the Washington Post, time to sack for Sam Howell, 2.23 seconds. So you're telling me Sam Howell's got to get the ball out even faster than that when he's already got a problem getting the ball out quick. He's got to do it even faster than 2.23 seconds. That was a problem, right? So the O-line couldn't handle the pressure scheme. We had no plan for that pressure scheme. And, we look like how we look in the first half. And then defensively, I mean, we've got what? A handful of guys signed off the street on their offensive line. And it wasn't until late in the game when we started getting pressure. That whole first half, they handled us. I mean, they were blocking every last one of those 4 first-round picks. Corners. We left our corners out on an island, and we had no safety help. We gave up big pass plays to a backup quarterback. Again, we gave guys career days and who just don't deserve it, and we let them walk all over us. It was a bad performance all the way around, and by the time they decided to make any adjustments, it was too little, too late.
Mike, of all of the disappointments today, what is the most disappointing aspect of this game for you?
It's hard to narrow it down, but honestly, I'm gonna be honest. It was the beginning of the game. It was so awful that I missed the entire third quarter because I just couldn't take it. Like I literally could not take it after the Sam Howell interception. Well, not even after the interception. I think it was a punt. It was right after Saquon Barkley's touchdown where I was like, you know what? I gotta step back for a few. I literally cannot watch this because it was a repeat from the Bears game. Except the only difference is the Bears are slightly more talented than the Giants. So that's why the game was close, like you said. But I'm tired of coming into these games thinking that they'll play better because they played well against the Eagles or they played okay versus the Bills. And you're like, well, if they played okay versus these elite teams, they should be able to take care of these lesser teams. But for some damn reason, they just cannot stop shooting themselves in the foot. They cannot stop playing to the level of their opponents.
Yes.
It's really frustrating. Like, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, I think a hallmark of Ron Rivera's team since he's been here is that they are exactly as good as whoever they're playing. And that's just not a recipe for success. There's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of big fat F's to hand out this game, but I'm going to give my F to those stat heads, those advanced metrics people that keep trying to convince me that, well, the offensive line isn't really that bad. Yes, they are. That offensive line, I mean, Sam holds on to the ball too long. Some of the sacks are on him. I don't think any of it, maybe one sack of the 6 today were on him. He was getting mobbed. The interior, I mean, Leonard Williams and the other, I should know his name. I heard it called 46 times today. Dexter Lawrence just, looked like he was 22 years old again. The offensive line is atrocious. And when they're not giving up sacks, they're not run blocking. And when they're not giving up sacks and not run blocking, they're jumping off, they're false starting. This offensive line is a disaster. That's 100% on Ron Rivera and his front office that he put together. I don't care what the advanced metrics say. You watch that game today. That offensive line is atrocious. It's been bad all year, and there was not a good performance on the offensive line today. So we're gonna start from that. My only other observation is if I see St. Juste on an island out wide, I'm audible into a go route every time because he's very good against the short stuff, but he's slow and he's going to get beat. deep. He's not fast enough to hang with most NFL receivers on a go route. Otherwise, a pretty solid game for him. He had some nice pass breakups, but anytime I see him cover it, I think it's Emmanuel Forbes time on the outside again. I trust him more because he's at least got some speed to keep up with those guys. The technique will come. I'd rather develop him than watch St. Jude's not get any faster. Brian, is the clock ticking on Ron Rivera officially?
The clock's been ticking on Ron Rivera since November when the team was put up for sale. I've said it since that day. Like, this is Ron Rivera's last year. He's a lame duck this year. A lot of people yelled at me, said I was wrong, or that Ron Rivera's coming back. Ron Rivera is not coming back. This last year, this year here has always been about developing Sam Howell and for Harris Group to figure out what they want to do moving forward, whether they keep certain guys, who are they going to hire for a GM, and who are they going to hire for head coach. Ron is on borrowed time. He has been since the sale of the team was announced, and this isn't anything new. Will he make it through the season? He probably will, because the Harris Group doesn't want to be cast off as being like Snyder or being impulsive or anything like that. But to be honest, it's not an impulsive move. Ron's been here for 4 years. What have we seen? We've seen the same things. Every year start slow. This year they started the best they have at 3-3 as opposed to 1-5 or 2-4. Like, that's ridiculous. Ron's in his 13th year as a head coach and he has 3 winning seasons. It's by far time that he needs to move on. I don't think anything's going to happen, though, because, again, I think Harris Group is patient, and I think they've got respect for Ron. So I think he makes it to the end of the season, and then they can him. But anywhere else, I think it's rightfully time he should be moved on from. And, this setup right now that we have isn't going to work.
I would agree with that. I'm of the opinion he may end up getting canned this season. I think if he's not gone by the bye week, if this team isn't any better, he may be gone at the week 14 bye and just let Bieniemy or somebody coach out the string. But unfortunately, I would agree with you. I just don't. I think we've got enough tape on Ron Rivera at this point to just know what he's going to be and what this season. You're just trying to get through this season at this point. Mike, the trade deadline is October 31st. Are you selling yet? Are you in full fire sale mode, or where are you sitting with that?
I'm laughing because as I was turning the game off in the middle of the second quarter, I was like, we're definitely sellers at the trade deadline this season. And I hope we take an NBA approach, even though I highly doubt it. This front office haven't shown they're smart enough to do it. But you have to unload some of these players and get some picks back. I'm pretty sure you could trade Jonathan Allen. Well, I'm not going to say that. Jonathan Allen isn't the one to trade, nor Payne. But you could trade Young. Payne. You could trade Young or Sweat now and don't even deal with the drama this offseason. Hell, you can trade Curl and don't have to deal with his contract anymore. There's a lot of people. Curtis Samuel. You can trade him. He's on a friendly contract right now that's tradable. So, yeah, it's time. I feel like it's time. We're not you enter the season wanting to win the Super Bowl. After the first couple of weeks, you realize that you're not going to win the Super Bowl. So you hope you can at least make the playoffs and have a shot at making the Super Bowl. But looking at the team, they can't beat the 49ers. They're not beating the Eagles or Cowboys in the playoffs. They're not even beating the Seahawks. We're going to see that later on this season, how they match up versus Seattle. Just sell everybody.
I would agree with that. It's unfortunate that we probably won't get top value for any of the guys because, the guys you mentioned, Payne or Young, Sweat, and Curl are all on contracts that are up this year. So they're short-term rentals for whoever they go in. I think Payne and Sweat will probably net you the most, but I think that's maybe second or third round tops for either of them. Just because, there's no guarantee they re-sign with whomever trades. So they're not going to give up like legit draft capital. But yeah, I would agree with you. those second and third round picks, they can come in handy if you have a GM who knows what he's doing with them, or, you can always use them to trade up. You can, if you're not convinced that Sam Howell's the guy, which after today, I don't know how you could be. He's struggling. There's a way you can maybe put a package together for a Drake May, for somebody, or maybe somebody like Penix is there when you're picking at 12, 13, 14, 15, wherever they are inevitably going to pick. Brian, does this change your 11-win floor prediction at all, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, we keep losing these games, so yeah, the 11 wins is getting harder and harder to reach, but the 11 wins was still reachable, and that's the thing. Like the Bears weren't a superpower, the Giants aren't a superpower. These are games we can win. We're not doing it. We are doing literally everything we can to lose these games. So the notion that it wasn't possible, to me, it still doesn't make any sense. Like, it is absolutely possible to do it. I saw the Giants win a bunch of games last year. They won 10 games and made the playoffs with an absolutely dreadful roster. And there's no reason that we couldn't be doing that. But we're not, because we don't have the coaching. Like the coaching, the decision making just isn't good enough. The players are, and again, these players aren't Super Bowl worthy. This is not an NFC Championship type team. So yeah, are we gonna make 11 games this year? No, not if we keep losing to teams that we should on paper beat. Like, you can't tell me the team has no starting quarterback. All their offensive linemen are out, and they just mop the floor with us. That's a tough pill to swallow when you're talking about this football team and the collection of players that we have here. But to me, that again, it comes down to coaching. I think we said it in the pregame here. Daboll coached circles around Ron Rivera last year, and damn it if he didn't do it again. And we saw the headline before the game that Brian Daboll had been more involved in the offense this week, and it showed. They weren't able to pressure him until late in the game. By that time, I mean, they already had the lead, and it was, we were trying to play catch up. So it was a little too late on that. They knew our defense and that we would be putting our corners on an island, and they took shots down the field. Those weren't by mistake. That was by design. So, very unfortunate. 11 wins was possible, but not playing like this.
There's a lot of people out there after the 2-2 start. They were like, well, with the next couple of games, this team's looking at 5-2. And I was to myself, of course, like, I don't know what team you guys are talking about, because this team doesn't win games that it's supposed to win. And, sure enough, it hasn't. I mean, we've gotten beaten badly. I mean, even today was a bad loss. We got dominated for the better part of the game. We've been beaten terribly by two of the probably four worst teams in the league have mopped the floor with this team. Just to tell you, just a quick note on how bad things were. 1 for 15 off third down today. That is unbelievably awful. Let's see, 10 penalties for 75 yards, and these were not bad calls. These were terrible, bad plays by our offense. I think the game overall was pretty well officiated. That intentional grounding on Sam Howell was a little bit iffy. Like, I can see that it was totally intentionally grounding, but there was, I've seen worse intentional groundings not get called. That's the only questionable call that I saw today. Again, 6 sacks allowed. They did clean it up, after the beginning of they gave up 5 in the first half and 1 on the first play of the second half, and they calmed down after that, despite throwing a lot. Sam Howell, again, threw 42 passes today. Chris Rodriguez, 7 carries, 31 yards. Brian Robinson, 8 carries, 23 yards. These are just terrible, terrible, terrible numbers. Jahan Dotson had a little bit of a rebound, 5 catches, but he dropped the one that could have, kept the game alive, and wasn't the most accurate pass by Sam, but under the circumstances, given that he's rolling left, throwing across his body, and he put it right on him, hit him in the hands. Jahan's got to make that catch. I am rapidly losing patience with Jahan Dotson. Sorry, Brian, what was it you were saying?
I was going to say, go back to the sacks. So there was 5 in the first half, 1 in the second half on you said the first drive?
First play of the second half. Very first passing attempt of the second half was a sack, yeah.
And it wasn't as if Giants defense brought any less pressure in the second half. But what changed? The game plan. They moved the football, or they moved Sam out of the pocket. They went to the quick game. They ran it a little bit more. I had a slightly bit success, but that just tells me right there they weren't concerned with it. They weren't concerned about the sacks, and they didn't feel that they had to do anything, and it beat them. And that type of arrogance or lack of understanding of their weaknesses, it cost them today. It's like, how do you not know you have a problem with sacks? Like, how do you not know you need to move the quarterback out of the pocket? Like, doing that in the second half, it's too late. You've already lost now. It's too late.
And Sam Howell's on pace for to obliterate the sack record. I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think he's going to get through the year. Like, I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to get hurt. He can't take that many hits. Mike,
I don't think he's going to get hurt. I think Ron's gonna get nervous because Ron knows Ron wants to stay an NFL head coach. He's not going to be, so I think he's going to pull Sam at some point, because if the wins don't come, Ron's going to get scared and he's going to pull him.
Well, Jacoby Brissett's not saving anybody's job.
Well.
Despite Ellie's best arguments to the contrary, Jacoby's not saving anybody's job. Mike, were there any bright spots for you today in this miserable affair of a game? Anything stand out to you as like something to build on?
Oh, nothing. Absolutely nothing to build on. Like, throw this tape in the trash. And the only bright thing I saw was Tress Way. Amazing game by him.
Oh yeah.
Caused 2 muff punts. Yeah, caused 2 muff punts today. So like, he's obviously the MVP today, but everyone else, like, there's Chase Young. He had 2 sacks. I do like that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this was his awakening. Like, if we can trade this loss for Chase Young to start averaging 2 sacks a game for the rest of his career, hey, I'll take it. But outside of that, a big fat nothing burger.
Tress Way, 513 yards punting today.
Really?
That's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 punts, 513 yards, 51.3 yards per kick. He punted for 500 yards. That is
Sheesh.
I don't keep track of punting numbers, but that's impressive.
I've never even heard of something like that.
Yeah, that is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, Chase Young was very disruptive most of the day, but again, he was going against like a 5th string offensive tackle, so I hope that happens more often.
That's a win
Brian,
for them.
Yeah, any bright spots for you in this game? Anything to build on?
The bright spot is we are 1 game closer to Rivera being gone, and we're 1 game closer to Del Rio being gone. We're 1 game closer to any residual from the Dan Snyder era being gone. And again, for me, this year was always about developing Sam Howell. Can he be the guy or can he not be the guy? Because again, once the team was announced for sale, Ron Rivera was on borrowed time. It's just it's just how it is. New ownership was always going to come in and bring in their own guys. You don't pay $6 billion for a team and then keep all the same furniture. Just doesn't happen like that. So that's the best thing that we got out of today, is that we're another game closer to real change and getting a real GM and a real head coach.
I am going to give a couple of bright spots. The first one, I'm gonna harp on Sam Howell a little bit. He obviously was terrible in the first half. Even when he had time, he was very skittish. He did calm down in the second half, and he put together what potentially could have been a game tying drive, potentially a game winning drive. And really, if not for a drop at the goal line, we could be having a different conversation right now. Again, not great numbers, 22 of 42, 249 yards and an interception. So not obviously his best game. But he did hold it together, and he led what he did as much as he could in the second half with the time that he had. So good on him. Chris Rodriguez, I thought, looked decent carrying the ball with very little to work with. He had a little more wiggle to him today than what I've seen from him in the past, and he was at least able to get something going in the run game. Brian Robinson, 8 carries, 23 yards, and a touchdown. He was getting hit as soon as he touched the ball, so that's tough. And Terry McLaurin, typical game, 6 catches, 90 yards. would have liked to have seen him get in the end zone. I really thought he scored. I didn't realize he'd been touched down on that deep ball that he caught. But again, another great game. He's always good against the NFC East. He kept it going again. 6 catches, 90 yards. So good for Terry McLaurin. Outside of that, I don't know. The defensive line really wasn't terrible. We got plenty of sacks. I think we had 5 or 6 sacks on the day. 4 sacks, on the day. But I mean, you've got a defensive line that is supposed to be the flagship of your team, and you're playing a bunch of guys playing out of positional offensive line. Everybody's injured. You should absolutely dominate that game. All that said, 14 points. If you hold an NFL team to 14 points, you should win, and we didn't. So it was terrible. I'm ready to forget all about this game and focus on Philly next week, which I believe this team will look much better against Philly next week. I'm not sure they'll win, but I think they'll put up much more of a fight because, again, we're as good as who we play. So, Brian, any final thoughts from you today?
Final thoughts. It was very, very apparent Eric Bieniemy is not interested in anything other than his game plan. Like, he's not interested in changing or adapting, and that was very disappointing. I thought I was getting something better in Eric Bieniemy. I thought I was getting something more. I feel like I've been lied to. Like, I was sold something, and now this product doesn't work as seen on TV. Eric Bieniemy was as seen on TV, and now the product has fallen apart. Within a couple of uses. So, very, very disappointed to see the performance from him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Mike, final thoughts?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm ready to give up on Howell just yet. No. Because even in today's game, like, not only do you see his toughness and the grit that he has to keep getting up after getting hit so many times, but he can throw the ball. I know he was a bit off today, but that tends to happen in New York because of the way the stadium is built. So I don't if he can just develop some pocket presence, because right now he has none. Remember back in the day on those old Madden mini games where the balls will shoot out at you and you have to dodge them? He needs to play that or something to build up some pocket presence or something, because he keeps walking in the sacks. The offensive line, they're not as good as an average offensive line. So pocket presence matters even more. And I know he's only in his second year. I know he's done the second offense in the last 2 seasons. But as a quarterback, not even an NFL quarterback, but just as a quarterback, period, you're not sensing pressure. You're going to get killed. You're exactly right, Eric. He's not going to make it through the season if he keeps getting hit like that.
Yeah, and it's not even the sacks. I mean, he's getting killed when he's, not getting sacked. He's still taking big hits. So yeah, there's a lot to like about Sam Howell. There's also a lot to work on there. I don't know if this organization is going to have the patience with him, because there's going to be a lot of turnover this year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Sam Howell, throughout the rest of this year, and then, into the off season with everything that is likely going to change. My final thought, of course, is that I'm really impressed with myself for not swearing during this episode, because I was so hot at the end of this game, and I called it. I go back and listen to the Tuesday show. I called that the game was going to look like this, and I knew exactly what was going to happen, but it doesn't make it any easier to watch when it actually does happen. And there was so much bad football played today that the Giants would have lost to 30 other teams this week, but they play the one team that they can beat. We just forget how to play football, particularly when we go to the Meadowlands. It's always bad. There's no one to blame but this team, because they just went out and laid a big fat egg. It is time to move on to Philadelphia, who I think is coming to town next week. So I guess that's going to do it for us. We will be back on Tuesday night. Make sure you like, subscribe, share the podcast with everybody. It's Commanders Declassified Podcast on all of your podcatchers. If there's more than one, pick the one with recent updates. Leave a review if you can. Give us 5 stars. If you don't want a 5-star review, don't leave a review. We don't want those, because anything less than 5 stars might as well be 0 stars. So if you like us, go ahead and leave us a review. We appreciate you listening. Check out the website. There's always contents there. Commanders247.com. For my guy Brian, for my guy Mike, we will catch you on Tuesday with our boy Ellie. And until then, peace out, homies.